Are you a new originator or a veteran originator? This training is for you. I created this blueprint over the last 15 years of being a top producing loan officer, but I don't want to come to you as someone who's preaching or critiquing what you've been doing. This is really an inside out approach of how I've trained tons of originators to produce 4, 5, 6, 7 loans a month consistently through my methods. This is drive what I consider to be the worst way possible to learn something, which is you learn it on your own. There's so many great people who've been originators and training programs out there that you can take if you're learning this business, but this is just my strategy that I found to be the fastest, most effective way to do it. And the piece, when I say fast and effective, it might take you 2 to 4 years to really get your volume up where you want it to be. So in a microwave culture, this might not be for you. This might not be the cat in the hat, the overnight success you're looking for, the fast tracking system. But what it might be is the very thing you need that uncovers your challenges to really grow your production the way you want to. So first things first, before I get started in any trading, I like to hit the basics, which is this. Before you get started, turn off the notifications, and better yet, maybe put your phone on airplane mode so you can pay attention and take notes. Because one of the things I like to start with is really there's 2 issues why people don't take trainings to heart. Number 1 is they're not paying attention. And number 2 is they're getting interrupted. So make sure you start with this. Because what I've laid out before you today is my 7-step blueprint to building a purchase-based by referral business. There's a ton of training out there. There's a ton of people that are going to say call agents, prospect your friends, call financial advisors, and all these myriad of things, which leaves you in a place of chaos because you go, what are the things that are really going to drive me forward and get me the results I want? And that's what today's about. So if you're looking for a shortcut, you're looking for an overnight sales hack, this isn't for you. This is for the originator who really wants to take their production from 5 million to 20 million, from 20 million to 40 million, from 40 million to 75 or 100 million. Because what I'm showing you today, in my opinion, is the best practices of what the top originators do and how they operate and how you can do it too. So, because anytime I started training, there's 2 main reasons why people fail. Number 1 is beliefs, and number 2 is skills. And we'll talk through that today. So again, keep an open mind, take notes, and you can always email and reply to these to ask your questions of us, and we can help you in overcoming those objectives or those beliefs that are holding you back. So the first point where I always like to start is this. What do you want? Why are you watching this video? Why do you want to increase your production? Why do you want to close more loans every single month? There's so many people, when I say, what do you want? They can tell me everything they don't want. They can tell me everything they don't like, but they very rarely can tell me exactly why they want to do what they want to do. Because one of the things for me is, as a dad of 4, and I have 3 little boys and 1 girl who I love dearly, is every single day I say the same message for me, my why, my reasoning. What's all this mean? And it's this: there's going to come a day where I'll no longer be living. There's going to come a day where I'm no longer in their life or their special person. But there's one overarching belief that I hold true to me, which keeps me in integrity to the things I say and I believe. And it's this: I want my kids to look back and say this: my dad did exactly what he said he was going to do when he said he was going to do it. Because so many times we're out of alignment of our integrity because we don't even have this basic premise in place. Because back to why I do it, it's for my kids and my family. It's I like to be a participant and give them these tools and these lessons I've learned and document it by video, by document it by working with them and spending time. Because again, your calendar, if you really look at what you want or don't want in your life, your calendar really tells me what you're really doing and what you really believe. If you're somebody who's self-motivated, you'll have a routine at the gym that you schedule every single day. You'll have a health and diet of a routine you do every single day. So again, if we start here at step 1, you need to get crystal clear on the why or the why not you want to involve in this training to make the difference. So here's the exercise I recommend for you. And this would be a big line in the sand that you need to start with this training right here. Make a list of all the things you don't want. Maybe you say, John, I don't want more money, but I want to sleep better at night because I want more peace because I want to have less debt. Maybe it's something you're like this person, which is totally different. Maybe you're somebody who's been overlooked and you say, hey, I want to have this career success to sell somebody or to tell somebody I'm better than they even thought I could be. There's a lot of reasons of what and why people do things, but this has to be the number one thing, because this road is not going to be easy. It might be simple, but not turnkey, because you're going to have to do some things and figure it on your own. But it all starts with that burning desire of why you're doing what you're doing, because that's how we can really unbox it. Because anytime you run into what I call these fake brick walls, you get rejected, you lose a client, you lose a realtor. The cornerstone of it is that you have to learn the skills to overcome it and then have that emotional belief system which empowers you to keep taking action in the face of it. So number one, what do you want? Let's start there. Number two, and this is the second hard part. These are the most important in this whole thing, in the 7 steps. Find and face the truth. What most people never say to me once they tell me everything they want or they don't want, what they're trying to avoid, fix, or curate in their life, is facing the truth. One of the hardest lessons I ever faced in life was accepting my truth, which is ADD, didn't pay attention, short-tempered. I was the king of wanting the microwavable results. I say this, I get that, there's my result. Let's start there, right? But what you have to identify here when you find and face the truth are, what are the things in your past that have shortcut you? What are the things that have stopped you in your tracks? In my experience, there's some things that we don't want to face in our life that have really lengthened that time of struggle because we haven't fixed it. So there's no simple way to do this, but there's an effective way to list these items. So most people, it's very difficult to pinpoint what your deficiencies are. Because one of the issues is when we talk about finding and facing your truth is, how do you get any data on yourself to say, hey, why did I fail? Why did I struggle? So one of the quick ways I like to do it is a self-audit. Back to where I started when I brought up your calendar, number one, telling me who you really are. Number two is when you start finding and facing your truth, what you have to look at in the origination business is your previous numbers in production. So for a lot of us, we don't have a body of work of where we pinpoint where we've been going wrong. And the way we start getting better is by looking at the data. We have a simple tracking sheet that we use internally at our company that I can tell a lot about where originator's deficiency is. So there's 3 categories. There's outbound dials, there's appointments set, there's inbound referrals, and then there's locked and closed loans. Those are the 4 categories. So when I look at you and I say, hey, what did you find and face your truth? So if you don't make enough outbound calls in category 1, that means there's a confidence issue. There's a call reluctance issue. And anymore, you don't have to necessarily make calls. And we'll talk through that in the future. But what we can tell is where people's true motive comes in. Where does people's true desires come in? And we figure that out by tracking what you're doing. Let's say the next category, setting appointments. Let's say you're sending out Facebook messages, text messages, emails, and making calls, but you're not getting any appointments. That's a credibility and scripting issue, which is, again, a skill we can teach. Then the 3rd category, earning referrals. Earning referrals is truly a matter of building trust and knowing how to build trust and rapport with those people who can refer to you the right way. And if you're not doing that, that's a separate issue that we can work on and train through. And then lastly, if you're getting referrals and not closing them, that's a competency, a sales process issue, or worst of all, maybe you just work at the wrong company and your rates are too high. So again, there's a lot of things we can do here in these first 2 of pinpointing what you want or don't want, and then tracking what you're actually doing in your sales process to figure out specifically what are those uncomfortable truths that we need to figure out. Because again, success leaves clues. Success does not happen in a vacuum, but what happens if you're a veteran or you're brand new, everyone says the same thing to me after these first 2 points. John, I'm different. Here's the reality. Nobody is that different from one another. There's 7+ billion people on this planet. We might have a different story, but at some point that story might not even be reality, and it might be a hallucination because of how far out you've gotten due to the lack of having any tracking or accountability. So again, for the sake of this video, this is that point where you should start really looking at your truth and looking back at the data you have or don't have so we can create a plan. Now, one of the hardest parts about being a mortgage originator is creating a MAP. What's MAP stand for, John? Massive Action Plan. And this is where the rubber starts to meet the road. Because when I talk to most people in this business and I say, hey, show me your action plan, what most people do wrong is their plan looks like this piece of paper right here. It's completely blank. Why is that? So I'll give you a couple reasons what I find why people have no plan or a bad plan. Number one is they don't know why they do what they're doing. When they talk about picking a vocation, it is the single piece from you going from dead broke and not having money to being wealthy and having the things you want, because it's the vocation. But what separates the winner of the business from the loser of the business? And very rarely, and here's a secret, is it some hidden skill and talent they didn't know they had. It starts with this: your business plan. If I meet with you and I say, show me your business plan, what most people do wrong is they don't have one. They're simply showing up intermittently and hoping for a different result. So here's the first piece of our plan. What most people don't realize, in any business, there's three parts to it. There's your target prospect, there's the messaging to that prospect, and then there's the method which you get in front of them. What a lot of people don't recognize is that that's true for every business. You have a prospect, then you have a messaging and a method, right? It's just like this. You can, if everything looks like a nail, or if everything looks like a hammer can cure the problem, you use that tool every single time. So as we talk through this today, we're going to break some of those things out as we create your plan. Because here's number one. In my opinion, the best realtors or the best loan originators work with the best realtors. So I start with this letter P. These are your prospects, the people who can send you business that you need to focus on. So I have a couple. You have, obviously, customers themselves. That's C. Number two is you have realtors, right? And then you have what I call referral partners. These are the three groups that can send you business when we start mapping out your plan. Because a lot of people say, well, John, I buy leads. I do social media. I do all these different pieces. Today, we will talk through those. But for the sake of this call today, this is about building a business by referral that we can scale in your local market. This is not for people who are looking for a direct response marketing, who are looking to buy leads. We're talking through a retail mortgage originator that produces consistent purchase-based referrals no matter the market. Because one of the unfortunate stats, if you look at how most people originate their mortgage, and this is from Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, it's either based upon a realtor referral or a friend referral, someone they know, like, and trust. These two categories right here, unfortunately, if you're watching this, account for almost 75% of the business. And then whether it be a customer or realtor, the next one is a referral partner, which is another 10%. So not 85% of this business comes by referral, how people pick their originators. That's from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac reporting. And I can send you these links if you want to see the reports for yourself. Only 10% of the mortgage market is originated, unfortunately, through buying referrals, buying leads. So as we talk through this and we think through this, you have to start evaluating your business plan. The plan I lay out before you might take longer, but it goes on forever. It's evergreen. Rates go up, people still use you for purchases and refis. Rates go down, you're their first call for purchases and refis. It is an ultimate blueprint for driving more production timelessly, no matter what happens. In my company, I have what I call the Forget John Murphy plan. Let's say I spend all these years with you, teach you up, you hit all your volume goals. You hit 40 million, and one day you wake up and you say, John, forget you, man. I'm moving on. This business right here is built upon building a referral base of assets that stands the test of time. Because with my plan today, what you're going to learn is how to set an appointment, how to host your first appointment, how to have your second appointment, and build a legit, valid business reason where you can talk to your agents every single month without strangling them with what'd you do this weekend and send me a referral, to make sure you create a true partnership. Because in my beliefs, these are the three categories that you have to focus on, and that is the bedrock of your business. Keeping customers, growing customers, and making a profit. That's how you win. So step one, the who. Now, step two, which is again another topic that most people don't like to talk about, is the methods. This is how do you prospect. So there's a lot of different methods you do. You can call, right? You can text. You can email, right? You can email. You can post on social media. All these things work here today, right? Post. Let me make sure my thing's still set up. Okay, we're good. So as we talk through these things, it's very, very important as we talk about it.
Just stop for a second.
Yep. Is that messed up? Okay, we're good. Okay, as we talk about it, these are the different methods, right? So you have calling, emailing, posting, texting. You could say you do DMs, right? These are direct messages. You could say LinkedIn, social media. But here's the truth. Everyone, when it comes to calling on these people, have the same tactics. So that brings this question about skill. You can have the worst possible originator using a great scripted campaign, and they can still get appointments. But then when they meet with them, you won't get the referrals. Because remember this, if you don't create a massive action plan that you can follow through and work with, all of this talk, all this training goes to shit. It does not go anywhere. It does not work. So here's the first piece. Again, you have the who, you have the what, and then you have the messaging. What are you going to do as an originator to get these appointments? And this is the hardest part, because here's what nobody wants to talk about. There's no magic in the messaging. Because one of the naive parts when you watch a training course is, what are you thinking? How do I sit in my PJs and get referrals without leaving the house and make a boatload of money? This is back to where we start talking about the uncovering the issues and back to those habits. Because here's the truth. You can call the best agent in the city, and if you don't have a compelling offer with a valid business reason why they should meet with you, you're not getting that appointment. They're busy. Because one of the issues is that everyone forgets that this whole entire model is built on not just a shtick, not just a scripting, but on creating a business of why people should meet with you. So here's the hardest part about being a loan originator that nobody actually wants to talk about. You, by and large, my friend, are in a commodity business. People can get mortgages from the internet. People can get mortgages from their bank, their credit union, their cousin, their sibling. So what happens is when you watch this training, you say, John, I already know messaging. I just need more deals. The lack of volume is the symptom, but is not the sickness. Because as we start talking through massive action plans, none of this stuff is unique. But here's what's unique. You can create a message that is amazing. You could say, I want to meet with you this week and talk through making money, right? That's an old one. That messaging is what people have said for years. The second thing people will tell you is make a video and send it to people about why they should meet with you. That's another huge issue that people see. Oh, I need to use one marketing method, video, and that will shortcut the process and make it easier. In my experience, here's the truth. You can say the wrong thing to the wrong person. Remember this, referrals go where they're deserved, not where they're needed. So why do I say that? Business is the first place where the brand new LO and the 30-year veteran compete for the same customer. So as you're watching this now, you're like, John, what's the messaging I need to know? I already know all these things. Here's the secret. In the beginning, when you create your model, you have to start far more simple than this. Here is my piece of advice if you're brand new, and this is where we create your plan. So number one, the first step of this is, who are you going to call? You have to start by creating, in my opinion, a realtor list of 40 people. Why 40? It's a standard practice that I stole from another sales trainer. But more important than that, the issue with most people do wrong when they're loan originators is they call on realtors who don't do business. And then here's the problem. When back to tracking, part of their plan they don't like talking about is that when you don't make enough outbound calls, you don't meet enough agents, and then you don't sort and sift enough because you were told by some training video that you just had to call agents and then you'd get business. Herein lies the problem. You have to make a lot of outbound efforts because here's what it comes down to. Effort times outbound equals results. Effort times outbound efforts equals results. You have to make sure you're being consistent when you're reaching out to these people. Because here's what the average originator does. They don't have volume, they prospect for 2 weeks, and then they stop and they complain and hope their current referral partners call them back. Show of hands, a veteran originator, have you ever done that? Probably have. Brand new person, you don't even know what I'm talking about? So we'll keep watching, we'll keep going here. But what I mean by this is you talk through your target market back to the plan. The thing that I always think is best to start with new agents is this. Your goal when you're prospecting, whether it's by DM, email, calling, texting, is to sort and sift and say this messaging. Hey, this is John Murphy with MJW Mortgage out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm reaching out. I've seen your production. You're doing a great job. I'd love to meet with you to see if I can be another tool in your toolbox or another club in your bag of tricks, whatever you want to say, but it's this. I want to give you a variety of options and see if I can support you in your production, and maybe I can be your plan B, C, or D, right? I know you have your existing relationship. Maybe I can be your plan B. I'll catch your scraps. Maybe I'll take the $100,000 loans that your other borrower doesn't want to do. So people will watch that and say this, well, that's not unique. The goal on the first call is not uniqueness. It's to engage and sort and sift and see who's willing to work with you. One of the naive things about being in sales that people always think about is they forget sales involves rejection. Sales involves no. Sales involves not right now. But what most originators do is they're looking for a way to get in touch with these people without addressing the elephant in the room. You have to engage and see if there's an opportunity there. No one can sell everything to everyone. But what happens is this. As we start making these outbound efforts and we start getting these results, we can spot trends for our market. What are some unique products? What if there's a service issue with who they're working with currently? What if they have a file that just blew up and they need another appraisal? Unless you're in the game of prospecting, everyone thinks it's different than this. They don't realize that the expert in the mortgage business, the top producer, makes more calls in a week than you do in 6 months. They have more referrals coming in a month than you did in a year. So as you think about this, you have to start challenging those beliefs you have in your head, because as we make this plan, that's the missing ingredient that most people don't want to talk about. It's going to take longer and be harder than you're expecting. So once you make your 40 realtor list, here's how I like to do things, is that every single week you make on average 65 outbound efforts. So in 2025, never before has it been harder to get in touch with someone. And here's why. Everyone's phone, right? Is my phone right here, if I look at it, is one click away from turning off and not getting your my permission. So as you make these calls, you'll start spotting trends and thinking through what you're offering. So the second piece of this is what I like to do if you need to start thinking about this. John, as I think back to my why, I probably have backed some number goals that I want to make, because I can show you as an originator, just starting right here, of how to make a $50,000 a year plan, right? 50K. Or I can show you a plan to make 500K. And here's what it comes down to that nobody likes to talk about. Where is your pain point, and are you going to tap out? Because as we start laying out this blueprint, what most people do at this point is they say, John, it's an awful lot of talking. This is an awful lot of where's the nuts and bolts? Where's the hacks? Where's the how I can grow volume overnight? Versus the truth, which is effort times your outputs, your outreaches equal results. And most of the best people you've met in this business have done more outbound efforts than you have in your whole life. Yet you're comparing yourself to the $100 million, $40 million producer when you're closing one loan a month. Because as we dial this in next, we have to start talking about back to this plan. So, and this is where the tracking comes into. So outbound calls every single week. And then what I like to do is one email blast a week. If you have a CRM, Total Expert, some of those other programs, you can do this. So as you're calling, you're also sending the email. The next thing I like to do is I don't like drinking as much as I used to. So I don't do happy hours anymore. I do coffee happy hours. And I recommend doing 2 coffee happy hours a month. And you can do this one of 2 ways. And people are like, well, coffee hour sounds dumb. Okay, drink water, get there. There's a growing populace who don't want to spend time away from their families at night. There's a growing population who say, hey man, this isn't up to me. I want my kid to be a pro athlete, right? My kid needs his practice his sports 12 hours a week, right? So I'm making light there, but as you start thinking about it, 50 outbound reaches, 1 email a week, again, 2 coffee happy hours a month, and we can talk through how to get those paid for free. And then again, you need to make sure that you're doing your in-person meetings. 5 meetings a week is how you start to win. Because where most people go wrong in this entire thing is they say, John, that's just so simple. John, that doesn't necessarily fix my problems. Here's the truth. With building a business by referral, there is no magic. It's this: the speed at which you implement this plan will determine whether you make 50K or 500K. Because one of the pieces that the naive salesperson has is that every single person you're calling on has business. Every single person you're calling on has so much business, and they just need to get one phone call from you, and that's how you'll get it. So here's the inverse of that. Can you imagine if every agent you were calling on got one phone call and pulled all their production to the next person? Think how difficult it would be for you if you were that referral partner, if that's how the marketplace worked. Because these people work based upon relationships. And the idea with prospecting is you're creating opportunities for yourself by the power of suggestion. Sales is not convincing people. It's offering a suggestion of here's what we're working towards and we want to help you with. Here's the suggestion of, hey, I'd love an opportunity if you have a file turned down, if I could be a second set eyes on it. Hey, I'd love if you had a rate shopper, maybe I could come in and give a quote as well so I could throw my hat in the ring to support you and make sure we get that file to the closing table. So these are the ideas when we talk through these plans. Because that being said, what most people will do when it comes to making this plan is I will script this entire thing out right here and say, do this for 12 months and you'll probably make 50 to 75K. Do this for 2 years and you'll probably make between 100 and 150K. Do this for 3 to 5 years and you'll make $400,000 to $500,000 a year. And that's where we start having to have these bigger conversations, because the bedrock of business is effort over time for years over compounded. So what I mean by that is that no business is built in one day. No business is built in 1 week. But it's from the toughest of times that the true winners of industry come. Because when everyone else is pulling back, you stick to your plan. When everyone else is chasing the fads, you're sticking to your plan and sticking to the fundamentals here. So when we really boil down these plans, and why do I call it a map? Because the issue is this: it involves massive action every week. I've said some things and I hope they're ringing true for you. Your schedule shows who you really are. So if you don't have a schedule, right? If this isn't built into your week of, hey, I do this 3 hours a day, then I spend the rest of my day doing appointments, taking apps, things like that, you're going to struggle to ramp up your production. You're going to struggle to really break through when we talk through these plans. Because remember this, most people have no plan, and the most people who have a plan sucks. So we got to keep going back to that point. So now let's talk through the next issue through this 7-step process, which is that you have to hit the elephant in the room. And this is probably the most painful subject I talk about. The average person's life looks a lot like Homer Simpson. You go to the restaurants you like, you know the people who you like, and honestly, you don't probably want to go out there and venture out. But if you're not crystal clear on what you want, and we go down here to slaying that dragon, addressing your fears and root issues head on, you're going to struggle with this whole thing. Because what people forget is success is an inside out game. It's not the person who was born on third base and had all the resources in the world that's successful. It's the person who's resourceful, who says, John, I had everything going against me. And you know what I did? I showed up and became the most successful person in my space. Because things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And people say, that doesn't make sense to me. I had such and such bad thing. You're shaping the meaning of the events to empower you to take action, because what you focus on grows. So if you focus on, hey, I didn't win that call, it didn't go in my favor, but I'm building a new skill. Hey, I made those calls last week. I didn't set any appointments, but I built a new routine. Because if you look at somebody who's jacked and strong and in shape, what most people assume is, oh, good genes, steroids, some circumstances, versus the reality, which is it's harder to have a six pack than it is to be a millionaire. There's a ton of stuff online that talks through that. But where I'm going in this, if we're talking through this routine, you got to make sure you slay this dragon in your life to make sure that you're executing at the highest level possible to win. Next, number 5. This is a painful one. Most people are so unproductive that I can't make it up. The average person's routine involves 3 hours of TV a day. 3 hours. If the average American watches 3 hours of TV a day, and then 7 hours of sleep. So before you even start your day of your 24 hours, 10 are gone on garbage. Then when you ask about people's willingness to be effective and actually execute, those numbers go through the floor. Most people live in a survival mindset. It's not about achieving, it's about getting by. It's about getting through the day. So if you really want to build out a routine that wins, I suggest this. Every single day, you should know what time you're waking up and what time you're going to bed. People say, I love sleeping in. Hey, I'm all for it. But my advice to you is create a routine that builds accountability and strength, and because it forces your hand to show up and work. If you go to bed every night at the same time and wake up every morning at the same time, and you eliminate everything out of your schedule that's not serving you, you find out you have a whole lot of time to work on your A plan as an originator. But what most people do is they're so worried about all the things they don't like or what's not working that their routine involves staring at their phone and not executing. So what you have to do with your routine is build out a schedule. There's a ton of books on it about building out routine and creating a schedule so that you can execute on what we're talking about here at that Maps and Slaying the Dragon. Because these two pieces are philosophical. These two pieces are about planning and executing. This piece is about creating your business plan of how you actually operate and run every week. And then the sixth number, which is the hard one, is raising your expectation. Because when we talk through routines, what the elephant in the room with routine is this. You have two main issues with time management that nobody's going to tell you. Number one, you cannot control time. You can only control your energy. So if we don't create a schedule and a routine that builds us up, creates a space so that we can actually prospect, make outbound calls, and hit the volume requirements to actually get the units we need, you're never going to do it. You're going to be just like everyone else who majors in the minors and has nothing to show for yourself. But when we talk through this and building out these first 5, it's absolutely paramount that you build out these pieces and you can do it. But the hard part is this. When we start through really creating success in this plan, is if you don't hold yourself for a high standard, which is you show up every single day and you consistently work through this plan, because the plan is not built on killing you and only doing it 1 week. It's built upon building something you can consistently and averagely do every single week of the year, even if it's a holiday, even if it's an off week. You can still find this plan and work through it. But if at no point do you ever say to yourself, hey, I need to get better, I need to make a switch in my life, or I need to get back with a new company who has those peers who are winning, all of this is going to be in vain. Because you got to remember this famous quote is the sum of your results is the summary of the 5 closest friends you hang around with most. When I talk about raising the bar, I'm talking about cutting off bad relationships. I'm talking about cutting off peers who aren't getting the results you want and you take their advice. I'm talking about cutting off people who tear you down when you're going as an originator and meeting with agents. I'm talking about cutting off self-talk. But if you don't actually raise this bar, you're going to struggle. We're never going to get to the places we want because we're always going to go default to our routine, our bad mindsets, our bad behaviors. So think through that. And the last piece, and arguably the most important piece, is this. You got to enjoy the life you live, even if it's tough right now. Because if you don't create this plan and then you don't have the right mindset, you're going to struggle. Life is so short that so often we connect our happiness or our failure to the result versus the process of becoming the person we need to become. So I bring that up last as number 7, because if we don't create this as an enjoyable piece, we don't have a team of people that's at peace with us and that we're working through, we're always going to struggle. We're always going to struggle to get those results, because building this business does not need to be something that is tough and you have these high expectations of yourself. It's really about the speed at which you implement these ideas. Because now there's another piece about when I talk through success that's a bonus training that I want to talk to you about, which is your mindset. Because when I talk to most people, and I've been hosting trainings and training salespeople for a long time, The success or failure is not the results and the game plan and all these things. It's really that inner roadmap. It's the inner game of being successful as a loan originator. Because one of the things I find when I share these new trainings that I have to go to the mindset next is I can show you the paint by numbers approach to this business. But what I can address is that your emotional home and your ability to confront your own issues. Because what you're going to find out is that there's three main things to making a determining factor of your success before you get started. Number one, when you're starting something new, is what are you focused on? Just as I said earlier in this training, success leaves clues. But more important than that, what are you focused on? Are you focused on the size of the opportunity, the journey, and the opportunity ahead of you? Or are you focused on the current rate environment, how there's so many other people who can get mortgages, and that you're selling a commodity, right? Because one of the things I've learned really quick about this business is that what it should expose you to is your limiting beliefs. Because success really comes down to two main reasons why people fail. Their beliefs are trash and they don't work hard enough on their skills. And the reason they don't work hard enough on their skills is they're not transparent with them. They never put themselves out there into the marketplace and get the feedback. So when we talk through this training, what are you focused on? Because what you focus on grows. If you focus on all the good things in life and wake up in the morning and create a routine where you empower yourself, you go for a walk, you have positive routines, you're going to love this business and this training. If you're somebody who sits at their desk and expects the world to owe you something and that you have, that there's something wrong with what you're doing, you're going to struggle. Because one of the hardest pieces I didn't realize about the mortgage business was my lack of business knowledge. And here's a hack. If there's a lot of people who sell and do what you do, it doesn't mean it's a saturated market. It means it's a great business. The more people in a market means there's enough money to go around. So as you start going through and creating these storylines and not focusing on the right stuff, you got to really start focusing on what are the things that are going to drive the results and grow through this. The second part of your mindset, what you're focusing on, what does this mean? Because one of the people I've seen is this: John, I hate sales. John, I don't like your sales process. And number three is I'm different from your sales process and I'm going to do it on my own. Because what I've found in this, when I say, what does this mean when we're talking through mindset, the things we focus on, is it's this: to be successful, it's not about making a sale. It's this: we're helping people with their housing and some of the biggest decisions in their life. One of the driving forces for me as being a loan originator all these years is that I love working with people and changing their life. And I feel like it's a positive impact and we can change their life. So it's an opportunity to serve others and give my best efforts and my best knowledge that I've made all the mistakes on, that they can implement and get better. So one of the things I realize is that what this means is this is my calling to serve. And that is what is so remarkable about being a loan originator, is that you can serve so many people with doing mortgages and still make a great living. And then lastly, what are you going to do with this information that we have today? I've talked a lot about creating a massive action plan, raising the bar and taking more action, also eliminating things. But what I mean is simply this: you pick where you want to start in the game of success. One of the things that naive people have is that they think the marketplace picks the winners and the losers. They think it's what company you work for, where the interest rate market is, who the president is, all these different things. But what my challenge today is, you think about this, about what we're focused on, what's this mean, and lastly, what are you going to do? Create that massive action plan and actually boil in a plan that you're going to do and do it every single week. Because repetition is the mother of all skills, and it's also the repetition of your emotional home. So if you lose out on a deal, what do? Do you get mad? Do you quit? Do you go home for the day, throw a fit? Or do you say, hey, what are the lessons I can learn from this experience? So if you call an agent or text an agent and they say, hey, I'm good, do you just say, hey, I'm out, right? I guess this business isn't for me. Because as I've learned, some of the hardest lessons is this: no means not right now. There's no such thing as failure in business unless you totally quit. That's why I laid out this entire plan for you and created this, is that as we talk through the high level and the action steps, what most people are getting wrong is that success is a journey. It's a journey of self-discovery. Some of the greatest gifts of life is uncovering who you really are and your potential. Because as you know, or you don't know, you're capable of so much more. But what's holding you back, honestly, is probably the bad limiting beliefs and poor skills. But by signing up for this free training, you're going to learn these pieces in our blueprint that works for you. Because two people can take the same information and change their life. Some people, as we close out this training, will say, here's all the reasons why not, John. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the context. I wasn't born on the right side of the tracks. Where other people are going to watch this training and say, hey, I only fail if I quit. Hey, I have another job right now that I work part-time, but I'll find a way because I have nothing to lose. Hey, I might not have the contacts, but I'm willing to build it and be a servant to the marketplace to build those contacts. Because it's not the people who were set up for success, it's that burning desire of the people who want to implement the ideas and truly execute on these trainings. Because there's no secrets left in the marketplace. People love to use that as a default reason why they're not successful, when it's actually the opposite. Success just doesn't look the way you thought it would be, and you got to grind through it and build that business the old-fashioned way. So I appreciate you watching this training today, and more stuff to come. Have a great day.